The working world has changed a lot, and COVID has accelerated this change in many aspects. And my feeling is, and I see it or I read it in many studies, is that it's also the time that businesses realize how important people are and how important human topics are, and that perhaps it's also the time for HR to become more important. Mm-hmm. What do you think about that?
Absolutely. And this is where we see when effects of the environment and how they have an impact on people's lives in the ways of working. So we've been talking about purpose for a long time. It's not just a buzzword. It's, if you follow any of the readings of a Simon Sinek, so that wave was already there. Why we do what we do. And I think this year has shown us this past year, more than ever before, how important it is to be clear as an organization why you do what you do. And the function then specifically of HR and part of that strategy that we were speaking about is about how can you connect an individual's own purpose with the company's purpose. If you can do that, magic starts to happen and you have a new passion in your workforce. And imagine the output of what happens when somebody is truly connected to the work that they do. And if you think in your recent social media feeds or LinkedIn, for instance, how often are you starting to see, "Hi all, I've decided to leave my job. I'm taking a sabbatical." So this is not about going to travel somewhere. This is an individual who has chosen, this is not a match for me, or it doesn't light my fire anymore. I'm stepping out and I'm going to refocus. It's actually a good thing, even for the organization that they're leaving, because you want to have a passionate workforce. But imagine how important HR needs to be in this role as we move forward. I think it's really exciting.
It is very exciting. And I also think that the purpose of HR has changed a lot, or that they can find a purpose in itself, again, in this new role. Mm-hmm. So what would you say, what is important for HR people to find this role?
If you would need to be lean and decide where can you go first in order to have the greatest impact, it's in your leadership. So whatever programs you currently have for your leaders, a quick hack, a quick way that you can get in there is speaking to your leaders about purposeful leadership. It's so important these days as we are working so often remotely. How can you connect to your people in a way when we have barriers as far as not being able to meet physically? That's the hack I would give you, to start with your leaders about being purposeful in the way that they work with their employees.
And purposeful leadership, can you explain, what do you mean by that? Like with an example, perhaps?
Mm-hmm. So in the past, we used to talk about, as a leader, you have to lead the way and more or less tell people what to do. You might have responsibility for some sort of an organization that has $1 million budget. You have human beings at home, children that you care for, one of the greatest responsibilities on this earth. But you come into work and we tell you your competence to make decisions is only up to 5,000. And the rest I will take on, thank you very much. And so this is how a lot of work has been in the past, very top down. And a difference moving forward is a much more trust-based environment. If you can't control your people in the office anymore, how do you work with them in the future? So that is one aspect of the trust. And the other one is about, I think one of the most important roles as a leader is to give a sense of purpose. When a new challenge comes your way, can you connect that to your ultimate purpose? Why do we have to do this? Why can't we just keep it the way it was? Every time we make a change, it's annoying. It's going to cost me more. I don't have time. I don't have time for this. You need to constantly tie that into the greater picture, and that's one of the greatest, most important jobs of any leader out there today.
I was just going to say there are certain voices that also said there is no leadership needed. What do you think about that?
There's various different agile models that are sort of based on that. So if you have something like, for instance, holacracy or sociocracy, various different models that are having different results. Holacracy has been around now for a while. I think it often depends on any good coaching, you have to meet them where they are today. It's a journey. So if you're doing a startup, you can do pretty much whatever you want, but you have to take into account What is your own personal style? It has to be authentic. And then if you're looking at making changes in your current business, you really need to be clear about what does the current situation look like? What are the membranes with which I interact? And what is the best change in that given current situation?
Mm-hmm. And what do you expect from yourself to be, what would you say, when are you a good leader?
Oh, that's a big question. I'm pretty critical with myself. There's not a lot of days where I say I'm a great leader. I hope I am. When am I a good leader? It's giving that sense of purpose. It's being empathetic. This year has also taught us so much about how important it is to be empathetic, to be clear, to be very clear in what is expected. That's one that I work on very much. I can talk a lot. I can talk for a long time. To be there at the end of the day, be very clear about what expectations are. When else? Oh, here's one for you. When I'm a good leader, that would mean when my day is done, when I'm done, I've left a great number of leaders behind me. I believe there's a leader in every individual, and I would measure my success on the other leaders that have been able to come out of the shadows thanks to maybe some of the work that I've done.
Really nicely said. Some people say that there is no need for HR in the future. What do you think about that?
That's a provocative question. There are various aspects in that question. One is digitalization. So for many of those very manual processes that have been happening up until now, they will become automated and they will be done in a different way. But there will always be an interface between humans and robots or automated, and that's crucial. That is the most important role that we as humans will have, and reading and understanding humans and making good solutions off of that. There is also something else happening in the world, and that is in the concept of, we're in Switzerland, one of the countries with the highest salaries in all of the world. Now, we've just discovered that you don't have to physically be here to work. If you're reading into the newspapers, you know that this will change the face of the way we work in Switzerland. So some things will begin to be outsourced to other countries. This is critical that HR is having these conversations and talking about what is the workforce going to look like in the future? What is being done in Switzerland? What is being done somewhere else? What's crucial for language for humans, and what can others, machines or other countries, do for us? This is very much a conversation we're having today in many organizations.
And may open the path for many HR people to become or work more strategic.
Exactly.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.